Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's me, Mr. Mario. We've started now 2 of these episodes in a row with a misfire of the treat. Anyways, what's going on, everyone? It's me, Mr. Mario. Welcome to this episode of Thrifty Gaming Pickups. I believe this is episode 39, and this is going back to excuse me, coughing roots here. I swear I'm not sick. I don't know what's going on there, but this is going back to its coughing roots, I guess you can say, or thrift store roots. The last episode, I did change it up a little bit to show you all my Black Friday deals and such I got, but as you can see here, this is my dog Lily. In case you do not know, this is a little series I like to do on my second channel. I did say second channel. My main channel is linked down below in the description, which is just a good excuse for me to hang out with you all, as well as my dog Lily, and give her treats. And Lily, there's a wet spot there. Give her treats and essentially just show you all the stuff that I end up picking up. Now, this is not like every single gaming thing I get. These are just like good deals that I end up getting online at garage sales, thrift stores, what have you. Or it could just be game stores. Last episode, for example, that was all Black Friday. So that's why this one is thrift store stuff, because that's where I went. Well, I guess half price books as well too. But let's go ahead and get into it. Now, I am again in the basement because, I have space here and I want to record this and I want a little bit of a change of pace. Let's go ahead and give Lily one more treat. You're being very polite, Lily. And let's go ahead and look at all the stuff that we got here. Now, I guess I'm going to do this a little bit differently, actually. I'm going to do the consoles first, because I never really do the consoles. I guess I cover the consoles at the end. I always do them at the beginning. So, first of all, we end up getting 2 new systems right here. Now, there was a half-off deal. Now, the thrift stores I go to, they like to do a whole lot of half-off deals, and it's only going to be on like certain colors and tags, I guess you can say. They pretty much put a tag right there. They either use a physical tag, like a purple tag, or if it's purple, they put in purple depending on the week it came in. And sometimes they'll just say, hey, everything is 50% off except for one color or 1 or 2 colors. Or maybe this color is 75% off, what have you. It just depends on when you go in. I went in during a half-off day, and I ended up seeing this actually a week or 2 prior. I saw this Xbox 360, and I decided to not get it because I said, you know what, I don't need it. I really don't feel like paying $50 for this. I was also actually using a 20% off coupon, but I even said 20% off of this, that's $40. I'll be okay, in all honesty. They also had a PS3 there as well, too. They had a PS3 Slim for $70, and I decided against it. I know those prices are a little bit high for thrift stores, at least the ones in my area, but sometimes they're okay, sometimes they're a little low, what have you. I would say those are lower than game store prices, though, in all honesty. But looking at this here, I end up getting, funny, it came with all these cables. I got the power brick right there. I got the regular composite cables that came with this console. I also end up getting, they threw in composite component cables as well too from the original Xbox 360s. So they just decided to throw in everything there. And this system, I'm actually going to take the tape off because I don't want my system, covered in tape and such. This is a Xbox 360 Slim model, of course. This is, my favorite type of Slim, I guess. Actually, yeah, it is my favorite type. It doesn't even look all too bad, although it will need a cleaning, but it is a matte black system, meaning it was one of the 4GB models. However, whoever owned it before, check it out. I never really get these. I had thrown in a 250GB hard drive and donated it with that hard drive as well. So that's really cool because whenever I pick up a Xbox 360 Slim from a thrift store, it never has the hard drive. And that's fine because I'm paying like 10, 15, sometimes $5 for these. This one I did pay more for. But with everything, I thought it was a solid deal. So I ended up getting the Xbox 360 Slim with all the hookups and all that fun stuff and a 250GB drive already in there. And by the way, it is a Trinity model as well, and it can be flashed. It is one of the older models that has a exploitable DVD drive. Well, all of them are, almost all of them are technically, but I do plan to, modify this and have some fun times with it. So I ended up paying $25 for all of this, which I thought was a pretty solid deal with, you know, everything. The only thing I'm missing is a controller, but it's all good. And I'm not too worried about it not working, thankfully. So that was the Xbox 360 Slim deal I ended up getting. I also end up seeing, this is a leftover from the PS3 actually that was there. They had a PS3, of course, as I said, and by the time I went there, it was gone. $35, if whoever bought it half off, $35 for that Slim was a great deal. I hope they got half off on it. But either way, I end up finding this there. It is a DualShock 3 6-axis controller, so one of the good ones, not one of the original ones, and it just needs a little bit of cleaning and such, but this was half off, so $4 as you can see. This ended up being $2. $2 for a PS3 controller, really hard to pass that up. The next console I got, which I was surprised with this because it was not in the console area, it was in just like the general electronic area, but they did know about it, and I'm going to remove the tape from this as well too, just because I don't want this taped up and such. It's on the bottom as well. All right. As you can see, I haven't removed any of this at all. Like, I'm doing this right in front of you all here. So this is a fat PS2. Which model is it actually? It is the, let's see here, the 39001 series model. As you can see, it does need a good cleaning. It has never been opened up, thankfully, but it did come with the power cable. It did not come with AV cables, but that's fine. I have my own. It did come with these two kind of translucent gray official Sony controllers, which I never really see. So I thought that was really cool that it came with the both of these here. You know, better than just, you know, getting the console only by itself. It also ended up coming with 2 memory cards. Not one, but 2. And both of them, yeah, that's going to need a cleaning. Just look at that. Both of them here are legitimate memory cards. And I always say, like I've said before, whenever I see these out in the wild, like PlayStation, especially PlayStation 2 memory cards, if they're only a few dollars, like generally my limit is like $4 or $5, I pick them up, just because it's always best to have a legitimate Sony PS2 memory card over any of those third-party or clone ones. These are always the best ones, hands down. So when I see them, I pick them up. But I also turned this on to make sure it worked, and it had a copy of Maximo in here, the first Maximo game. I think it was Ghost to Glory or something like that, but the first Maximo game, disc only, was in there. So all that was $34, you know, just rounding that up. So that is a little bit higher than I would normally pay for a PS2. Certainly I could have waited, you know, half off and seen. But again, I saw it, I was like, you know what? The PS2 seems to be booting up and working. It seems to be in solid enough shape outside of needing a cleaning. It comes with 2 legitimate controllers, 2 legitimate memory cards. It's just really nice having all of that bundled together. So I think for $34, that's a pretty solid deal still. But yeah, all that's there. I'm going to put this to the side, and that is the PS2 pickup that I ended up getting. Now let's go ahead and get into the game pickups here. So this was a real fun one. I thought these were real cool. I ended up going to another thrift store, and they had some games, but I noticed, I think a former Blockbuster employee ended up donating these, because I'm going to show these to you, right? So like the Darkness 2, for example. This all looks fine. Well, not this one. This is actually kind of a bad example. But yeah, everything's in there. And a lot of these were in pretty solid shape. But here, let's just go through the PS3 games first off, and then I'll show them to you in more detail. So the Darkness 2, absolutely love this game. I ended up paying half price on this, so I paid $1.50. Turning Point Fall of Liberty, $2.50. Homefront, $2.50. Portal 2, $2.50. Hunted, The Demon's Forge. It even has the Do Not Sell Before sticker on there, which is so cool. $2.50. Dead to Rights Retribution. Still never played this game, but $2.50. Fear 3, $2.50. Conflict Denied Ops, $2.50. And there you go. That was when it started giving it away, because I was looking through the games, I was like, oh, there's a Blockbuster sticker on there. Dungeon Siege 3, $2.50. I have a funny story about this. I'll actually tell it now. I was working at a game shop when this game came out, and I remember it was interesting to me that I was surprised it came out on consoles. And now, we had a strict policy at my game shop of no refunds or exchanges unless the product is defective, and we give you 30 days. So we'd gotten in 2 brand new copies of, well, pretty much brand new copies of Dungeon Siege. They were open, but they were in brand new condition. And, we processed them, and I sold one of them almost immediately. And a few hours later, the kid who ended up buying it had called, and he was the conversation went something like, "Hey, so I just bought Dungeon Siege 3, and I'm having issues with it." And I asked, "Oh, what kind of issues are you having?" He said, "Well, the game works, but it's really slow, and it's lagging, and and it's not good." And I asked, I was like, "Oh, so the game is working?" He said, "Yeah." And I said, "So it sounds like it's a problem with the game's programming, right? It doesn't sound like the game is broken." He said, No, the game's not broken, but it's just not good, and it's just not playing good." And I said, "Well, if there's an issue with the disc, you can come back with the receipt, and I have another copy of the disc I can give you." And he said, No, it's the game. It's not working very well." And I said, I'm sorry to tell you, dude. We have it right there on our receipt, 30 days, no exchanges for another product, no refunds. Again, if you're having issues with the disc itself, I'd be more than happy to swap it out or repair it for you. But if it's just an issue of the game is not a good port and it's running poorly, there's nothing I can do. I'm sorry." And he just kind of sounded disappointed. He's like, "Oh, well, thanks." I think he knew that's what the answer was going to be, but he thought he'd try his luck at it, which is fine. But that's always how I remember that game. I don't know how the PS3 one is, though. The first Nier game, have not played this, do not own it until now, so $250. And the first Dark Souls game, $250. So let me tell you all about the Blockbuster story, right? All of these seem to be in pretty solid shape. And when I went to the store, there were a ton of PS3 games, like 30, 40 PS3 games that had just shown up, or they were there for about a week or so. And some of them were duplicates. Like, they had duplicates of Dungeon Siege, they had duplicates of Fear, they had duplicates of Detrite's Retribution. And I started going through them, and not all of them are complete. But, like, for example, I started seeing this. Return to BBV and some numbers. And almost all of these discs have numbers written on them in Sharpie. So Dark Souls does. Here we go. $15 fee if not returned. BBV 41074, number 1. So I just lit up when I saw those. And I know some people might not want writing on their stuff, and generally I don't. But I guess it's one of those things I'm a little bit biased with it. If it's something that just like triggers nostalgia within me, I get really happy about it. And also, I think it's a nice story. Like, the outside of it looks fine. The game is totally playable. The inside is just, there's a little bit of Sharpie written right there. And it looks like these Blockbusters they came from were really strict, because I've never seen any writing on the manuals. So, like, my Blockbusters I went to growing up, there was never $15 fee if not returned. They never wrote on the manuals. I don't even remember writing on the disc there. So I'm guessing the Blockbusters these came from probably had some pretty high theft and just non-returns coming back. So yeah, I just thought that was real cool. And that number right there, the 41074, that is the number of the Blockbuster that this had come from. So I saw multiple different numbers. I'd seen many games. I saw multiple copies of games, and these all seem to be in pretty solid shape as well too. But it didn't just come from one Blockbuster. It was coming from multiple different numbers. So I'm thinking maybe, my theory is whoever donated all these PS3 games, maybe they worked at a Blockbuster, or maybe they were, maybe they worked at a former Blockbuster, and when it was closing, they just end up buying out a ton of PS3 games, or they took the last bid, or they took them home or something, and they probably just had a pile of maybe 50, 100 PS3 games sitting around, and they decided to take what they didn't want and donated it. That's at least a story I'm thinking of there, and now some of them have come into my home, which I enjoy. This one here, let's see. Yeah, that's another one. 9049202. There's no writing on there, that's fine. This one, of course, is pretty obvious. Blockbuster parental permission recommended. Nothing on here actually. So see, like that's kind of the difference there. And they, for anybody that, you know, doesn't remember Blockbuster, they didn't rent you the game like this. Like, they would generally have this on a shelf, and then you had to grab the game from behind, and it might or might not include the manual. So it looks like these were recased at one point. Yeah, that's another Blockbuster one. These had to be recased then at one point, and then sold off, or, you know, given to the employer, what have you. But I just thought, you know, little history like that is real cool. This one shows no sign of being from a Blockbuster, actually. Interesting. And again, these are all in surprisingly good shape as well, too. I was shocked with, you know, like the cases feel real nice and everything. You see they're not super torn up. The only one that's bad here is Darkness 2, which this one's obviously from a GameStop. It's not even from a Blockbuster. So that was real cool. That's probably been my favorite PS3 pile pickup, because not only these were, you know, solid titles of games, but also, you know, the Blockbuster history certainly makes me smile. So there's that. Now, next up here, let's go ahead and get into this other pile. I'm going to just pull this forward a little bit. Right, Lily? We're just going to pull this forward. Right here, this was a game just by itself I had picked up when I went to another store. This here, NBA Jam, found it on the Xbox 360. And I end up opening it up, and I found that there was actually two games in there. There was NBA Jam, and there was Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2 disc only. Now, I should tell you, because, you know, it's happened with this. Actually, these happen at the same store, just different purchases. It happened with this. It happened with the PS2. My logic and the way I normally handle these, I will say I'm never one of those scumbags. I don't stuff cases. Like, for example, I'm not going to take like, oh, I'm going to find Dark Souls on the shelf and take out the disc and put it in here. Because as you all can see, I don't like collecting disc-only games. But my thing is, if I find another additional game inside of a case and it's already there, I pick it up. It's just if it was there, it's been found. That's about my logic with it. So for example, Maximo inside the PS2, well, they're selling everything together here, and it was inside the PS2, so I'm gonna take it with me. And I'm not even taking it, I'm buying it. And then this, for example, NBA Jam, I open it up, there's another game in there. If it's there, hey, I guess they're selling it with it. So sometimes I get extra copies of games that way and such. These ones are rough though. So as you can see, this is quite scratched up. And this here, NBA Jam, unfortunately has a circular scratch on it. However, I can repair both of these games, thankfully, thanks to my disc resurfacer, which is why I felt fine picking this up. And I paid $2.48 for this. So, thought I'd throw that in. One of the few sports games I'm actually going to pick up. This surprised me. I didn't have either of these games, and I ended up finding PS4 games at another thrift shop. Now, these ones were not on sale, unfortunately, but they were still a pretty good deal. I ended up getting Rocket League Collector's Edition for the PS4, and I ended up getting Atari Flashback Classics Volume 1. Both of these were $5. So, they weren't half off, unfortunately, but even for $5, I can say, you know, they're good deals. And they're PS4 games. Surprisingly, they are PS4 games. Still have yet to find Switch games. So I found everything except Switch so far, which is to be expected. But I found PS4, Xbox One, Wii U games. No Switch games, though. Here, I end up grabbing a few other games as well. I believe this is from the same store. But I end up paying $4 for The Godfather, the game. I did not own this on the Xbox 360. I think I had it at one point and got rid of it years ago, but I do not currently own it, so I decided to pick it up, and it was enjoyable. True Crime Streets of LA. I have played this game, did not own it on the original Xbox though. This was $2. Shattered Union on the original Xbox. Never played this, never owned it. This again was $2. SpongeBob SquarePants Revenge of the Flying Dutchman. I actually remember playing this as a kid. I thought it was okay, but enjoyed it at the same time. So maybe this will give me some laughs and such if I fire it up here. But this was $1.50. This surprised me. This one surprised me. Generally, if I see an import game at a thrift store, I pick it up. But Devil May Cry 2, the PAL version of it, as you can see with the blue case and the alternative artwork and all that stuff, I do own this game. I own the NTSC version on PS2, but I've never owned or even seen the PAL version, and I have to say, in my opinion, the PAL version looks much nicer. Oh, except they end up mixing up the discs here. This is supposed to be disc 2. This is supposed to be disc 1, but it's all good. That's just Dante and Lucille discs. So, cool. Real cool. This is now my 3rd PAL game I own for the PS2, because the first one I own is Silent Hill 2, the collector's edition of it. The second one I own is Underworld, which I got from a thrift store. And the third one is Devil May Cry 2, which again, I got from a thrift store. And this was $2. Last game, Dynasty Warriors 5 on the original Xbox. Do not own this game. Well, I did not. I own it now. This is $2.50. And let's see. I have like one other thrift store pickup in here. No, 2 more technically. Here we go. Here's one of them. I've never watched this, never owned it, but I was at a Savers and I decided to pick it up. This was a little bit more than I expected to pay, but I wanted to pick it up. This was $4. And this here surprised me, which I will actually get into after I talk about these other ones here. So here I end up going to a vintage stock, and I saw they were doing a buy 2 get 1 free sale. And the way vintage stock does it is they'll do the cheapest one is the free one, but they stack it up, so they go from the most expensive to the cheapest. So that means, let's say you get 9 games, every third cheapest game is going to be free. So as opposed to, they don't do you dirty is what I'm saying. So let's say you get 3 $10 games, 3 $5 games, and 3 $3 games. They're not only going to give you the $3 ones for free. They would give you a $10 game for free, a $5 game for free, and a $3 game for free. They're fair about it, thankfully. So I decided to end up picking up a few things from there. I end up getting this complete Wavebird controller, and it's in pretty solid shape. I've never owned one, and I always missed out on buying them. I actually remember I wasn't into the GameCube or the Wii at the time, but I should have bought them as I was seeing them come into the game store that I worked at. I actually bought 1 or 2 of them for friends, funny enough, because I had one of my friends who was looking for for 4 of these, and he told me, he said, hey, if you find any that come into your store, please buy them for me and I'll pay you back. And I remember I bought 1 of them for sure, and it was $25. It was only $25 before my discount. So I bought that for him, and I mean, now people would love to buy one of these for $25, but now they're ranging up in price, so they're $40 or $50. And as you can see right here, this was the Wavebird with the receiver for $40. You have to have the receiver. So $40 for that. Then I end up getting Jumping Flash 2. I do not own the first one, but I have played it. But I decided to pick up the second one because I saw it in their case there. And it's a fun game. I played a little bit of it, actually. I enjoyed it. But this was $20. And then because of that, this ended up being the free game. So I got the Serious Sam collection for $20. For free, excuse me. And then next up, I end up getting Deus Ex Human Revolution for $10. Never owned this game on 360, so happy to have it. And I was thinking of playing it as well, too. Like, I was just like, I kind of want this, and then I found it there. Overlord. I used to have both of them, sold them, so I need to find the second one again. But Overlord. Found this on 360. This was $10. And there wasn't really anything else that I particularly wanted, so I ended up finding just like a random demo game, which I think it was one of the original Xbox demo discs, like an OXM disc, and that was $1, so I got it for free. So no big thing there. It was actually, I was kind of pursuing stuff that I was like, hey, I actually really want this stuff, and then that was a nice little bonus. But I wanted to tell you all some stories about these as well too. So for Serious Sam, always check, I guess in short, always check your games before you leave, right? Because I didn't do that. This is like the one time I didn't do that, and I got home and there was no disc for Serious Sam. But they were real cool. I just took the receipt, I came back in the store, and I said, hey, I bought this like 2 days ago, and it doesn't have the disc. And they just went to the back, they found the disc, they gave it to me, and I was out. So thankfully, and that was good because I didn't want my money back. I actually did want this. So been wanting it for a while, finally got that. And then the funny thing is here, with the Wavebird controller, got a little thing for this as well too. So for the Wavebird, I ended up asking about this. I looked at it and then I said, yeah, I'd like to pick this up. And it was funny because I guess like the guy I was talking to was a little bit confused. He legitimately didn't know the name of this, but he was, ringing up everything. And then he was like, okay, is that it? I said, yeah, and the Wavebird. And he was like, oh, the what? I said, the Wavebird. He was like, what? I pointed at it and I said, the Wavebird. And he was saying like, wait, what? I said, the controller. He said, oh, wait, what were you saying? And I told him Wavebird. He was like, oh, that's what it's called? It's called a Wavebird? That's so weird. And I think he was a little bit younger than me. But it was the first time I was like, wow, either this guy did not pay attention to the GameCube at all, or I'm just now running into people for the first time who did not know what the Wavebird was. Because that was the first time in my life I ever, like, at least in the context of gaming, I said the word Wavebird, and I was talking with someone who did not know. Like, all my friends and several other people I can talk to, if I say Wavebird, they know exactly what I'm talking about. They can visualize the controller. They can talk about it. But this is the first guy I mentioned it, and he had it right in front of him, and he had no idea this is called the Wavebird. I thought that was really funny. So I ended up getting that, and I wanted to bring that up as well too, because a couple days later, like a couple days after I bought that, I ended up finding another Wavebird controller, and this one was at a thrift shop. As you can see, it's pretty easy to guess that because it's dirty and grimy, so it does need a cleaning. Thankfully, I did remove the batteries that were there, and it looks like there's no corrosion damage. I took those out immediately. But the only downside to this is it is controller only. It does not have the receiver, which you do need. So now I'm going to be on the lookout for a receiver. So I guess I can ask you all about this. If you all might have any recommendations or price points on how much a receiver only would be, that'd be great. Because I did a quick search on eBay. Even if I have to buy like a third-party receiver for $20, I don't mind it because I have the original controller here. But I looked it up, and the receiver itself, first of all, it's actually kind of hard to buy these alone. It's kind of surprising, but you typically can only really find them on eBay paired up with the Wavebird controller, which means they're going to be $40 or $50. But then even the few listings I found that are receiver only, they were about, $40 or so. So at that point I was like, well, shit. So I'm paying as much for a complete Wavebird package as I am for a Wavebird itself. It's kind of like, the Game Boy player, for example. The Game Boy player, it came with the Game Boy, it came with a disc that you have to use. If you're using it legitimately, no homebrew or anything, it came with a disc, which you have to use that disc in order to utilize the Game Boy player. If you don't have that disc, you are not able to use the Game Boy player at all, unless you modify your game system, of course. But game shops, it was one of those things, if you go to a game store, they're really never going to sell you a Game Boy player alone unless you specifically ask for it and you tell them like, yes, I know it's going to be useless, I want to buy it, and they'll sell it to you for like 5, 10, maybe $15. But it's like finding that disc. If you find the Game Boy player disc, more than likely it's paired with a Game Boy player accessory itself, because it doesn't make sense for the game store to sell it separately. And if you do find it separately, like on eBay or something, it's just as much to buy the disc as it is to buy the disc with the accessory. So it's kind of a waste of money to how do I say it? If you're in the market, you're only looking for one, it's a waste of money to buy the Game Boy player and then look for the disc separately. You should just wait for a deal for both of them to come up, because you're going to be paying just as much, if not more. So that's about the same thing I'm seeing with the Wavebird, unfortunately. But if anyone has recommendations on, where to find a good, because again, even if I can find a third party, like a knockoff one of these, I wouldn't mind as long as it works, so I can have two working Wavebirds at the same time. That's about it. My last pickups I end up getting here, these guys were all from, what the hell was the place? Half Price Books. That was it. So first of all, actually, I'm going to cover this last. All right, I know that's interesting, but I'm going to cover it last. So we're going to go from cheapest to most expensive. I ended up getting God of War 3 on the PS3. Surprisingly, did not own this on PS3. I have it on PS4, but not PS3. Got it on PS3 for $3. I have a story alongside this as well, too. One of my friends, I guess, we kind of, when I retold this joke to other people, we've kind of used it as a descriptor and a joke for God of War 3. One of my good friends, I don't think he's watching, but shout out to Pierre. He bought this game. He was really hyped for this game, and he bought this game right when it came out. And I remember the way he described it to me. He was like, man, so how sometimes, like, because he was like, hey, you know, you pick up a PS3 game and you typically have to install it. And I said, yeah. He's like, well, you know, I picked up God of War 3 and then I picked up my Taco Bell and I came home and I fired up God of War 3 thinking, you know, I had to install it and all that. And it just booted right into the game, and it was crazy. So I had to play until I got to a save point. I had to play God of War 3 for like 30 minutes before I could touch my Taco Bell. And then I paused it and ate Taco Bell. And I just thought it was such a non-story, non-event thing, but it was so funny and charming to me at the same time. I retold that story to people. So like whenever like some of my friends and I in high school, whenever we would talk about God of War 3, we would always somehow relate it to eating Taco Bell and having to get Taco Bell and wait 30 minutes to play it, to eat it. I don't know. It's one of those things. It's dumb but funny. Still makes me smile. And that's how I always associate God of War 3 to Taco Bell. Here, I am actually really disappointed in myself that I end up selling this. And I don't even remember when I sold it. But I had this as actually one of the first PS3 games I got, and then I got rid of it, and then I decided to rebuy it here. But I had these digitally, but I wanted the physical collection. This is the complete package, I guess you can say, for Watchmen: The End Is Nigh. I very much enjoy the Watchmen film, all right? Now this one, it's a little bit confusing, but I can explain it here easily enough. The complete experience, and you open it up, and you get Watchmen: The End Is Nigh, parts 1 and 2. That's the game itself. But you open it up further, and you also get Watchmen the film, the director's cut of it. So this is everything complete. If you have a PS3, you buy this, you have everything Watchmen movie related, which is awesome. So I wanted this. I remember like I bought it because, you know, it was a good deal originally, and it still is. And I paid $10 for this. But for $10, you get the full Blu-ray of the Watchmen director's cut, and you also get the physical copies of both the Watchmen games, which, again, I did not have physically for a while, unfortunately, but now I do. Also, it says with bonus film features. Good to know. And it comes with some other physical goodies as well, too, but this is complete. It comes with a slip case and everything. I had looked at this and I said, I can't pass this up a second time. So I actually saw this, at the same store maybe a month prior and decided not to get it, but when I saw it still there, I said, you know what, I'm going to pick it up. And the last thing here that I ended up buying was a PocketStation. And now I actually have a few PocketStations. I need to actually utilize them. But the PocketStation was kind of like Sony's answer to the VMU for the original PlayStation. It was really cool. It was really only available in Japan. It was like you could only purchase it in Japan, actually. There's a small handful of US games and I believe PAL games which support the PocketStation, but you had to import the PocketStation, and those were just, you know, things that were baked into Japanese produced games already. This is a crystal one. And as you can see right here, I just want to show you all this. Like this looks so cool to me. I have PocketStations already, but I don't have any of them boxed. So this was just really cool finding one that was boxed up as I drop it on the floor. But it will be okay. So let's go ahead and open this up here so I can show it to you all gently. And even the box is really nice for this. You kind of open it up like that. Sticks out and such. It even comes with the original documentation and everything. That was really cool to me. And here is the cute little PocketStation, if I can pull it out. Gentle. Let me actually, can I? Yes. All right. There we go. Cool. So right here, this is the PocketStation, and that is not screen burning. That is actually, I thought that was screen burning, but no, that's actually how it looks. It just has the PlayStation logo there, and the way this works essentially is, let me see, you can use this as a memory card. So I just need to, there we go. Just had to find a way to actually open it. Essentially, this is what you do. You take this, you plug it into your PlayStation console itself physically. It works just like a memory card. And then there are very specific things you could do. So for example, let's say you're leveling up a character in a Street Fighter game, and I believe this was a actual use of it as well too. You transfer your character onto here, and then you make sure your battery is charged up. You have a battery in there, and you can then play all the mini games and such to level up your character on the go with you. Very 90s, like this is like the most 90s thing. And then of course it's, you know, manipulating your save. So then when you take your PocketStation, you plug it back into your PlayStation, you have your character that's been further leveled up because you have worked on your character outside of the game. So I actually need to give this a fair shot. I really want to. I just think it's a really cool, obscure, niche, cute accessory all in one. But I thought this was really cool because it was all packaged. It was boxed up, as you can see. Now, this was typically $50, but because I had a half off coupon, I was able to get this for 25 bucks. It was half off of the most expensive item you buy. And I looked it up and it seemed like $25 was a great price for one of these complete in-box. So I decided to get it. Anyways, that is about it for this episode of Thrifty Gaming Pickups. We are almost at episode 40, you all. That is crazy to me. It's been a fun few years. But anyways, that has been my pickups recently from all my thrift store adventures and half-price books and all that. And Lily is just chilling over there sleeping, trying to sleep at least. Anyways, that is it for this episode. This Mr. Mario is signing off. Thank you all for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, a like would absolutely be appreciated. If you didn't like it, a dislike is fine as well, too. But as I always say, if you dislike this video, you're going to make Lily, come here, look at that. You're going to make this dog very, very sad. Look at her, she's just spitting up everything. That's how sad she is at you disliking. Alright, we good.